So, today I'd like to begin by asking you to think about when you were young. What did you dream of becoming? Perhaps you dreamt of becoming a lawyer, or a doctor, or even a teacher. Keeping this in mind, let's take a look at this public service announcement, which aired in 1989 by the Partnership for a Drug Free America campaign.
When I grow up, I want to be a track star.
No one ever says, I want to be a junkie when I grow up. Don't let drugs get in the way of your dreams.
Now, I'm sure we can all say clearly, without a doubt, that none of us ever dreamt of becoming a junkie or an addict, as some like to say. But it does happen. So today I'm here to inform you about one of the most significant problems happening right here in our own city. That problem being substance use addiction. Now, this topic is extremely important to me because I myself have been on both sides of this issue. I know it may seem somewhat ordinary, but I am a recovering addict of 28 years. Today, however, I do have 21 months clean and sober, and I'm working on that dream that we thought of earlier. Now, hopefully providing you this information will help bring about some awareness to the issue of substance use addiction. Now, let's talk about the main points that we'll be touching on today. First, we'll be discussing the growing problem of substance use addiction in San Antonio. Second, we'll be taking a look at some of the more common substances and their impacts. And finally, we'll be talking about some forms of treatment for substance use addiction. Now, with that being said, let's talk about our first main point. Now, when we talk about the growing problem of substance use addiction, it is important that we understand what that actually means. First, substance addiction, commonly referred to as drug addiction, does not discriminate on who uses the addictive substances. People of all different backgrounds, ethnicities, and even age groups use addictive substances. In fact, substance addiction is rising in younger age groups, starting as early as 12 years old. Now, an article published in UTSA Today in December 2019 stated that a survey done in 2018 for Texas schools showed that 34% of 7th graders had consumed alcohol in their lifetime. And the rate of use is even higher among 8th graders with 42%. Now, another problem is that the growth of substance use addiction leads to a higher death rate due to opioid overdose. Now, in 2016, a KSAT article referred to Big City's health inventory data, which showed opioid-related overdose deaths in San Antonio were higher than the national average. Now, I'm not sure if you can see here, but San Antonio is standing at 9.2 when the national average is at 5.0. Wow, right? Now, with this, a drug market analysis published in February 2009 by the National Drug Intelligence Center stated that San Antonio has a much larger drug abuser population than any region in the South Texas area. Now, moving on to our second point. Here we'll be looking at some of the more common substances and their impacts. And in our first common category, we do have common substances such as marijuana, alcohol, even tobacco. In another common category, we do have opioids such as heroin, stimulants such as cocaine, and methamphetamines. And then we also have our prescription medication, prescription substances such as Xanax, Adderall, Vicodin, and even methadone, which can be highly addictive when not taken as prescribed. Now, as I mentioned before, all these substances have a grave impact. KhanAcademy.org shows that these being as one or both behavioral and or psychological effects can be produced by using these substances. Some of the behavioral effects can be those such as anger, fighting, stealing, incarceration. And then there's also psychological effects such as mood disorders like mania and depression. There's other psychological impacts such as anxiety, insomnia, paranoia, and even psychosis, which is loss of all contact with reality. Now that we have an understanding of the problem and the causes, let's move on to my third point, which is the treatment. Now, the methods for treatment of substance addiction can vary depending on the person, the situation, their age, and so forth. Now, one of these methods of treatment is behavioral counseling, such as outpatient, individual, or group addiction counseling. Then there also is support groups such as Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, and even Narcotics Anonymous. Now, there is also the method of medication treatment. These medications can be such as methadone, Suboxone, and even a new medication approved by the FDA in 2018 called Lofexidine. And the last treatment seems to be one of the more common treatments, and that's inpatient treatment facilities. Now, with this form of treatment, an addict patient will typically stay in a facility for about 30 to 90 days, depending on their situation and the seriousness of their addiction. Now, they can even stay up to a year. Now, for residents here in San Antonio battling substance use addiction, there's many different treatment facilities to choose from. There's Lifetime Recovery, New Choices Treatment Center, SOBA, and then we have our more common treatment centers such as Laurel Ridge and San Antonio Recovery Center. And some of you may not know this, but Haven for Hope, which most seem to think is only a homeless shelter, actually provides a great program that helps deal with substance use addiction as well as mental health. Now, in conclusion, let's review what we discussed today. So we gained information about substance use addiction here in San Antonio. First, we spoke about the growing problem of substance use addiction. Next, we talked about some of the substances and their impacts. And last, we took a look at some of the treatment options for substance use addiction. Now, hopefully this information has given you some insight to a drastic problem here in our city. And as Seth Adam Smith stated, you can't defeat the darkness by keeping it caged inside of you. Thank you.